Hello beginner riders far and wide, this is your motorcycle messiah, Yami Noob. We're talking about gear today. We're not just outlining essential riding gear because that's been done to death. Instead, we're flipping the subject on its head and talking about some beginner rider gear mistakes. I mean, that's just as helpful, right? So let's have some fun and talk about the worst beginner rider mistakes. So let's say you're buying your first motorcycle secondhand. It's not uncommon for people to buy a beginner bike and some gear, try it out for some time before deciding it might not be for them and putting the bike up for sale. A lot of times the seller will include some used gear, either thinking they're sweetening the deal or because the remaining gear will only serve to remind them of the lifestyle they gave up and left behind. And of these pieces, bonus bargain gear that comes with a used motorcycle, what I cannot recommend is making use of a used helmet. Here's why. First of all, the used helmets I have been on the receiving end of during the purchasing of used motorcycles have always been the weirdest and most impractical helmets you could possibly imagine. A 3/4 helmet with flames? Sure. A modular helmet with the modular part broken off? Great. A half helmet made for someone with the head the size of Andre the Giant's? Even better. That is so practical for me to have. Honestly, what I think happens is these helmets just get passed around from person to person every time they sell a motorcycle. They come in the box of all these other junk you'll never need, like the stock pipes and the crappy toolkit that 90% of the tools are missing. Every good used motorcycle purchase comes with a box of useless crap, I swear. But the second point I'd like to make about the dangers of a used motorcycle helmet is arguably more important than the fact that they're always ugly or dumb, is that you don't really know the condition of the helmet outside of any visual marks or scuffs on the exterior. A motorcycle helmet is sort of a single-use product, meant to survive a single impact before they're discarded and replaced. For many riders, this single impact never happens, and they're able to use their helmet for years and years without issue. Although a helmet can be damaged from impact from things outside of a motorcycle crash, like even a fall from a decent height onto the concrete can damage the internal components in a way where the helmet will be significantly less effective at preventing your brain from turning into scrambled eggs in the event of a crash. You're able to send helmets in to be x-rayed to ensure that they are still up to manufacturer standards, but considering the helmets in questions were free and are also dumb, it's better to just pass altogether and get yourself a brand new helmet. There is no such thing as a free lunch, and there is no such thing as a free helmet either. The hidden cost is your life. And lastly, a used helmet is just kind of gross. Who knows what type of liquids that foam interior has absorbed over the years. I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to get some sort of head fungus because I don't want to pony up the cash for a new helmet. Don't use the free secondhand helmet. Just don't. That kind of leads us into our next beginner gear mistake, and that is buying the cheapest gear possible. While buying cheap gear is likely better than using crappy gear, it is still not recommended if at all possible. I understand many riders are really young and on a limited budget, but it still may be worthwhile to save up a little longer or start selling your used undergarments to strangers on the internet in order to afford some higher quality stuff. Typically, buying cheap means buying twice, so saving up and buying the nicer stuff the first time may very well save you more money in the long run. New riders don't need to buy a $500 helmet, but they should also avoid the $70 Amazon special as well. It may seem like a good plan to get the cheapest gear possible just to get to the MSF course. Remember that your taste and expertise will quickly expand once you've started riding, and you may want to level up your gear sooner than you would have expected. And on the same topic of cheap gear, don't buy novelty gear ever. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but I've seen enough people wearing Predator helmets on their Stretch Gixxers or German Soldier half helmets on their Harley Davidsons to know that it is a problem plaguing the darker corners of motorcycle culture. So don't do it. Get a helmet from a reputable brand that is both DOT and ECE rated. It may cost a bit more upfront, but it will be worth it in the long run. Trust me. Another mistake that newer riders make with their gear is not dressing for the weather. Sure, 55 degrees may be perfectly pleasant in a light jacket when you're walking around at a turtle's pace, but when you're on a motorcycle exposed to the wind going 186 miles per hour, it is going to get cold very quickly. And being very cold on a motorcycle is bad news. Your motor functions, dexterity, and focus are all impaired when you shiver and shake harder than a Harley rider in the morning after bike night. And in layman's terms, being cold on your motorcycle just plain sucks. So anticipate the drastic effect the wind chill is going to have on your ride and dress accordingly. If the air temperature is 55 degrees and you're riding at 60 miles per hour, it will feel like 46 degrees. And 46 degrees is kind of cold, especially if the sun sets or goes behind some clouds. Similarly, it is worthwhile to invest in some rain gear. Every motorcyclist has been caught in the rain at some point or another, and again, in layman's terms, it just kind of sucks. So invest in some waterproof rain gear that you can either wear if you're anticipating some inclement weather, or just keep in some luggage on your bike in case Mother Nature decides to smite you as punishment for the lustful thoughts you've had about stretched Hayabusas. A gear mistake that many new riders will experience is the curse of the tinted visor. A tinted visor is great for when the sun is out, but becomes quite the obstacle the minute the sun decides to set while you're out on your ride. Then you're left to make a decision to either be a total squid and ride with your vision impaired by the tint on your visor, or have your vision impaired by the wind in your eyes and run the risk of a bug or a rock penetrating your cornea. And when you're on the operating table with the surgeon's scalpel inching closer to your eyes and begin the eye transplant under the blanket of anesthesia, you'll be wondering whether the tinted visor was worth it. So be sure to plan ahead and be cognizant of the sundown. It's like the sun has set every day since the beginning of time, yet tinted visor chads always act caught off guard the minute their vision is impaired inside their helmet. So maybe opt for the clear visor with sunglasses if you think your ride will pass sundown. Or keep a pair of swim goggles underneath your seat so you can throw it on when you lift the tinted visor up during the dark riding. That'll look really cool. This is a pretty common mistake most riders will experience, so it's definitely something to be mindful of if you plan on having a tinted visor based on your helmet, or you get one of those photochromatic visors that adjust to the level based on the amount of light they're exposed to. Although I have heard mixed reviews about them, and if they're anything like transition lenses on your glasses, they're a little dorky. But one of my helmets has them, and they work pretty well. Have you checked out our new merch designs? We recently switched to a new merch provider, and these shirts, joggers, and pants are so nice. We also have some new designs you may enjoy as a lover of staying on that back wheel on your ride. Do some wheelies, baby. If you or a squid you love needs some motorcycle-related apparel, look no further than their Sweet Papa Yam's emporium of kick-ass gear. I promise you'll like the way you look. I guarantee it. We've always got some sweet promotions going on as well, so be sure to head over to shop.yaminoob.co and get yourself some of our amazing merch. Now back to the show. I touched on this mistake during a past video about general mistakes beginner riders make, but I wanted to expand it here considering we're talking specifically about gear, and that is wearing non-motorcycle specific boots or jackets. A lot of new riders are basing what they consider to be essential riding gear off of what is required during the MSF course, in which boots and jackets or any kind are deemed significant protection. But guys, the MSF course takes place in a parking lot where you're out riding a motorcycle on the street. Work boots or leather jacket from Urban Outfitters are not going to offer you the protection you need. I get it, your Red Wing boots look cool with your 3/4 helmet and your Triumph Bonneville, but there are plenty of pieces of motorcycle-specific clothing that offer adequate protection without having to look like an astronaut going through an emo phase. Motorcycle boots offer protection in places most prone to injury in the event of a crash, whereas work boots offer protection on your toe so you don't drop an anvil on your foot and sue for workman's comp. See the difference? A motorcycle jacket, even a more lightweight jacket, is made from tear-resistant materials and have protection panels in case you end up having to learn the hard lesson of Newton's laws of motion. So save the work boots for the job site and the fashionable jacket for date night, and invest in some motorcycle-specific gear. And the last gear mistake I'd like to mention is one of the most overlooked pieces of motorcycle gear: riding pants. And while specific riding pants are the best way to protect the lower half of your flesh prison while you're on your motorcycle, they're often neglectful in favor of some more creative attire. Here are some of the things you should absolutely not wear while on a motorcycle. The first one is shorts, an essential part of the Jixer squid uniform. I can imagine the sensation of wind blowing up your legs of your cargo shorts at 186 miles per hour must be intoxicating, but let's be honest here, shorts are probably the dumbest thing you could possibly wear on a motorcycle besides a Speedo or a gorilla suit. You're obviously exposing your legs to risk of being turned into pulled pork in the event of a crash. You're also straddling a boiling hot motorcycle engine that can injure you without even going down. That's why Harley riders walk with a permanent cowboy-like wide gait, because they're used to keeping their legs spread wide to avoid burns from the exhaust on the air-cooled engine. Pretty much just as bad as wearing shorts on a motorcycle is wearing joggers or sweatpants. If you're to crash on a motorcycle wearing sweatpants, you might as well have nothing at all, because they will disintegrate into a mist of blood and cotton poly blend. Even if you don't feel that riding pants are 100% necessary for you and your occasional leisurely ride, at least wear jeans, although those are probably going to tear up just the same. Or assless chaps, but honestly, riding pants are your best bet for optimal protection. And as always, when buying a motorcycle gear, make sure it fits correctly. Your helmet isn't going to do much good if your head can bounce around inside like a can of shaking spray paint. If you want more insight into motorcycle gear, go through our back catalog and you can find plenty of content to help you get set up appropriately for your new two-wheeled lifestyle. Fact: in the 1830s, tomato ketchup was used to be sold as medicine, claiming to cure ailments like indigestion and jaundice. The idea was first proposed by Dr. John Cook Bennett, an American physician, in 1834, who said is to sell the recipe later in the form of tomato pills. Goodbye. Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yami Noob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yami Noob. Don't forget to keep watching Yami Noob. That's the most important thing. Keep watching Yami Noob.